You hear that? That's the sound of millions of us losing our Saturday mornings just so that we could perform a mandatory unpaid internship for a plant we can't even eat.
Today we're talking about your lawn, and most people think a green yard is something to aspire to, or perhaps even part of their American dream. I'm here to tell you it's a 400-year-old aristocratic flex that has morphed into a corporate subscription model. And every single one of us has been suckered into the chemical hamster wheel. Let's look at the history because it is, well, cutting. We got to go all the way back to the 1600s in France and England, where if you were a peasant or, a normal person, your land was essentially your grocery store. You had a cow, some cabbage, maybe a goat, but the bottom line here is that every square inch of it was used to keep you alive. But if you were an aristocrat, you wanted to prove that you didn't need the land, so you grew nothing. You had a vast expanse of closely shorn grass just to say to everyone else, I am so wealthy, I can afford to waste 50 acres of land on a plant that does nothing but look green. It was the original conspicuous waste because to those people, a lawn wasn't a yard, it was two big middle fingers to all the hungry people who were outside the gates. And how did they keep it trimmed? Well, an army of servants with scythes. It was a literal power move that required human suffering to maintain the height of a golf green. So in 1830, there's a guy named Edwin Budding, and he's working in a textile mill, just going about his day, and he notices a machine that is trimming the fuzz or the nap off of high-quality flannel to keep it smooth. And of course, he thinks to himself, hey, why not do that to the ground? He runs with the idea, he patents the first mechanical mower, and of course the marketing pitch is freedom, but what happens is the exact opposite. Because his invention didn't liberate any servants, it just made it so the middle class can now do grueling labor themselves. We traded a team of scythe-wielding servants for a noisy heavy iron machine and our own Saturday afternoons. We basically just disrupted the servant industry, took their jobs, and became our own servants. By the late 1800s, things got weirdly personal. A guy named Frank J. Scott, we'll call him the original influencer. I don't really know that he was, but he had some social pull, people listened to him. And using this strange sense of social power that he had, he decided that fences were unchristian and un-American. He argued that your yard shouldn't be for you, it should be a public park for the whole street to enjoy. Think about that logic for a second. You pay the property taxes, you do the mowing, you pay for the water, but you aren't allowed to have a fence because it spoils the view for the guy across the street? This was the birth of the suburban panopticon. Your yard was the first social credit score. If your grass was too high, you weren't just a bad neighbor, you were a threat to democracy. They turned our private property into a public park where we're the groundskeepers. This is the part that should really piss most people off. Before the 1950s, a perfect lawn included something called white clover. Why? Because it's a legume. It takes nitrogen from the air, puts it in the dirt for free. It's nature's fertilizer. It stays green when the grass dies. It's basically a miracle plant. But then the chemical companies developed a chemical called 2,4-D to kill dandelions. The problem? It also killed clover. Did the companies fix the chemical? Hell no. Instead, they spent millions on a marketing campaign that rebranded clover as a weed. They literally took the plant that was feeding our yards for free and told us it was the enemy. The result? We pay them for the poison to kill the clover, and then we pay them again for the synthetic nitrogen in a bag to replace what the clover was already doing. It's the ultimate subscription model. They broke the system and then sold us the Band-Aid. It's really kind of fucking genius if you think about it. Right before that happened, during World War II, the government was begging people to dig up their yards and plant victory gardens. People were growing about 40% of their own food. They were self-sufficient. It was beautiful. But then the war ended, and some developers, like the guys at Levittown, decided that self-sufficient people just don't buy enough shit. So what did they do? They flipped the script. They put mandatory mowing clauses in house contracts. And they rebranded vegetable gardens as low class and immigrant behavior. They took a nation of gardeners and turned them into a nation of grass-obsessed consumers who waste about 9 billion gallons of water a day on a monoculture desert that supports almost no bees or butterflies. So here we are in 2026. We're still out there at 8 a.m. every Saturday pushing a machine around to trim the nap off of our outdoor carpet. All because a textile engineer in 1830 had a weird idea and a chemical company in 1955 wanted to sell more nitrogen. And now we get to spend our free time being the unpaid groundskeepers for a status symbol that's been obsolete for at least 2 centuries. Maybe it's time we stop worrying about the perfect green carpet and start wondering why we're working so hard for a plant that doesn't even have the damn decency to grow a tomato. Stop mowing for a second and think about it. I'll give you this Saturday off. If you like this kind of content, little history lessons with a little dose of sarcasm on top, then hit that like and subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.